Alright, so this video is going to be about slides 8 through 11, which we will be working on today, November 15th. So the first one is about paragraphs, and we did talk about paragraphs when we were talking about what is narrative writing a few days ago, but we're going to go over it again and look at an example just to make sure we know what we're doing. So this says you must make paragraphs. Paragraphs are important because without them, the text looks like an imposing and overwhelming giant wall of words. We don't want that because nobody wants to read that. So when a paragraph ends, the reader has time to pause and reflect, and a new paragraph shows the reader that a change is taking place. So something different is going to be happening. So we start a new paragraph when a new character enters the scene, a new person begins to speak, the topic changes, the setting changes, a new event occurs, time moves forward or backward, or dramatic effect is needed for emphasis. We are going to take a look really quickly at an example. So this is just a random page in a book called Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. It's a really good book if you want to read it. Let's make that a little smaller so we can see some more. Okay, so you can see there's lots of paragraphs on this page. We can see that there's most of these on this page are not necessarily because somebody is talking. So that means that maybe a new character has entered the scene, the topic is changing, a setting's changing, a new event occurs. When we start a new paragraph, we go down to the next line and we indent it. And the way that we indent it on our computers is by hitting the tab button on the far left of your keyboard. If we take a look at this page, we see that we start out with a new paragraph, and then we have quite a few paragraphs here because people are talking. So remember, every time a new person starts speaking, we start a new paragraph. So this person is talking, it says, I'm outlining a new bird book, my dad says, and I was thinking maybe you could take the pictures. And then the mom is going to respond, and when she responds, we start a new paragraph because it's a new person talking. We have what she says here, and then the speaker tag, which in this case says, my mom exclaimed. That's how we tell who is talking. It's called a speaker tag when we say, my dad said, or my mom exclaimed. I'm still ironing out a few things, my dad replied quietly. So this would be the dialogue, I'm still ironing out a few things, and then the speaker tag is my dad replied quietly. So back to paragraphing though. We can see that every time a person talks, we start a new paragraph. And then somebody's not talking right here, but this is probably a change that's happening. Another person's talking, maybe a change down here again, or a new event. And then we have lots of paragraphs. So all of those are examples of when we start new paragraphs. If we take a look at page 9, slide 9 in our essay packet, this one says, review the rules for paragraphing, then read the following story excerpt. It won't be easy to read as it is one giant paragraph. Decide where the paragraph should go and place a paragraph symbol called a pilcrow at the spot where a new paragraph should begin. It says, once there was a widow who had a son called Peter. He was a strong, able boy, but he did not enjoy going to school, and he was forever daydreaming. Peter, what are you dreaming about this time? His teacher would say to him. I'm thinking about what I'll be when I grow up, Peter replied. Be patient, there's plenty of time for that. Being grown up isn't all fun, you know, his teacher said. But Peter found it hard to enjoy whatever he was doing at the moment, and was always hankering for the next thing. In winter, he couldn't enjoy sledding and skating, and he yearned for it to be summer again. And in summer, he looked forward to the skating, sledding, and warm fires of winter. Often he wandered through the forest, dreaming of the future. While he was there, he would lay down on the soft forest floor in the warm sun, his hands behind his head, staring up at the sky through the distant treetops. One hot afternoon, as he began to grow sleepy, he heard someone calling his name. He opened his eyes and sat up. Standing before him was an old woman. In her hand she held a silver ball, from which dangled a silken golden thread. See what I have got here, Peter? She said, offering the ball to him. What is it? He asked, curiously. touching the fine golden thread. "This is your life thread," the old woman replied. "Do not touch it, and time will pass normally. But if you wish time to pass more quickly, you have only to pull the thread a little way, and an hour will pass like a second. But I warn you, once the thread has been pulled out, it cannot be pushed back in again. It will disappear like a puff of smoke. The ball is for you, but if you accept my gift, you must tell no one, or on that very day you shall die. Now, say, do you want it?" Peter seized the gift from her joyfully. It was just what he wanted. He examined the silver ball. It was light and solid, made of a single piece. The only flaw in it was the tiny hole from which the bright thread hung. He pulled the ball, put the ball in his pocket and ran home. When he arrived home, he examined the silver ball again. The thread seemed to be creeping very slowly out of the ball, so slowly that it was scarcely noticeable to the naked eye. He longed to give it a quick tug, but dared not do so. Not yet. So what you're going to do is click on each of these little pilcrows and put it where you think a new paragraph should start. So if somebody is talking, perhaps, then we need to start a new paragraph there, and you would drag it and drop it to where somebody starts talking. If a new character enters the scene, or a new person begins to speak, the topic changes, the setting changes, a new event occurs, time moves forward or backward, or dramatic effect is needed for emphasis, that's where you're going to drag these and put them in the paragraph. The bottom part says, explain how it felt to read this story. Why is paragraphing important? Alright, slide 10. This one says, this one is about magnetic leads. So a lead is going to be the very first sentence in your entire essay. It's really important because we want to pull in the reader. You want to make them interested in what you have to say. You want to make them interested in reading your story. So we use a magnetic lead to make it really interesting. So on the far left here, you'll see it says, choose 3 and write a lead, the first sentence of your entire story, that you could use for your story. So you're not just putting in random first sentences here. This is one that you could use for your story, and you only have to pick 3. So the first one is setting sketch. This is not literally a picture that you're drawing. It just means that you are painting a picture in your reader's head. So it says, Jill pressed her head against the back window of the car, watching the snow fall softly on the countryside. They're just trying to give the reader a picture of what the setting is like. And then in this box, if this is one of the ones that you choose, then you can go ahead and type in an example that you could use in your story. We have dynamic dialogue, and remember, dialogue is when people are talking to each other. Mom, the teacher told me to write an essay on the dog, but he won't stay still, said Joey. So it's kind of just like a little silly bit of dialogue to start it off. We have character and action, which is Jessie danced as though, or Billy crawled through the cave. Over here we have a simile or metaphor, and remember, a simile is when you compare two things using like or as. In this example, it's a simile. The puppy's fur was as soft as silk. Or a metaphor is when you compare two things by saying one thing is something else. By saying the clouds are cotton candy, so you're saying that one thing is something else. We have a character sketch down here, which is kind of like similar to setting sketch, where you're painting a picture of one of your characters. It says, I watched Granny wrangle the steer through the gate faster than cowboys twice her size and half her age. So that gives us some good information about Granny, that she's tough and kind of like a cowgirl maybe. The next one says, strong feelings. The longer I lingered outside the door, the more my heart raced. So that's kind of interesting because it makes you want to keep reading, and the reader's thinking, oh, well, what's making them feel like that? I want to continue reading to find out. The next one is a flashback. It says, if only I had known that a colony of bees had made a cozy home in the tree I chose to climb that day. So that kind of gives us a hint of what the conflict is going to be too. And then they would probably start at the beginning, when they're, with their friend and they want to go climb a tree and they didn't know that there was a colony of bees in it. And then the last one is onomatopoeia, and onomatopoeia is when a word makes the sound. So this example is whoosh. It took only one gust of wind to blow the clean white sheets into the mud. So remember, you're going to choose 3 of these, and you only have to do 3. If you want to do more, that's fine, but you only have to do 3. Our last slide that we're working on today is slide 11, and it says all about me on here. You are going to be filling this out about your main character, so the one main character that you have in your story, that's who you're filling this out about, not about you. If you have more than one main character, you can go ahead and just click on this, and then you can hit copy and hit paste, and then you'll do this about multiple characters. But you're going to fill in all of this information. So what does your character look like? What's their name? How old are they? Where are they from? If they're in school, what grade are they in? When is their birthday? You can just choose a month if you want to. What's their worst fear? And maybe this would be something that shows up in your story. My top 3 favorite activities are, so what are their 3 favorite activities? The next one is 5 character traits that describe them. You can use Google if you need some help, but I want 5 in this box. The last 2 down here at the bottom, my family or friends that will appear in the story, and how will you, as the writer, show these character traits, the ones that you listed up here, how will you show them in your story? So if your character is brave, how are you going to show that they're brave? If they are shy, how are you going to show that they're shy? That is the last slide that we are working on today. Go ahead and get working on those, and then when you are done, you may work on an early finisher task.